Bo. Go. That is the name of this week's Torah portion. In this reading, Moses goes to Pharaoh again and again, and one last time, again. Moses has 3 more rounds of going to the Pharaoh and asking him to let my people go. God brings forth 3 final plagues of further increasing magnitude. From the swarm of locusts, which may be seen as the embodiment of mob mentality, to the plague of darkness, which may be seen as deep, incapacitating depression, to the death of the firstborn, which may be seen not with emphasizing the killing, but with emphasizing the saving of those with the faith and with the courage to identify themselves as rightly believing in God and the good which he represents, for which he stands. In this parsha, God tells Moses, Vaidatem ki ani Adonai, that you may know that I am the Lord. This is not communicated to Moses in the singular, as one might think, telling Moses that he may know, but that you may know. Vaidatem is in the plural form. As Moses is our representative, all of our representative, the message is given to him, but it is given to him for all of us, to be forever marked on our collective memory, to be transmitted from generation to generation. The plagues may be coming to their culmination, coming to their climax, but their impact and their lessons are to go with us as we go always, even to go with us throughout our lives today. How we celebrate Pesach today may not be exactly as we did so on the first such occasion back then, but our modern celebrations are based on and elaborated from that which is given to us in this week's Torah portion. In the midst of this Shabbat's reading, there is a shift, a significant shift. It shifts from the telling of a story to the giving of commandments. Commandments on how we are to observe Pesach throughout the ages. It shifts from the narrative to the legislative. We are given guidance. We are given instructions. We are given commands on how to remember, how to commemorate, how to observe Pesach. Back then, on our first Pesach, we did eat unleavened bread and bitter herbs. But traditions of green vegetables, saltwater, haroseth, etc. were not so commanded then, and were not added to our Pesach until many years later. As our reading shifts from narrative to legislative, we are commanded that V'haya hayom hazeh lachem lezicharon. This day shall be to you one of remembrance. V'chagotem oto chag ladonai. Celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. L'dorotechem, throughout the ages. Chukat olam techaguhu. Celebrate it as an institution for all time. Tashbitu she'or mibatechem. Remove leaven from your houses. Mikra kodesh yiyeh lachem. Celebrate a sacred occasion. Kol malacha lo ye'aseh. No work shall be done, referring to the first and last days. She'or lo yimatzeh bevatechem. No leaven shall be found in your houses. Kol machmetzet lo tochelu. Eat nothing leavened. Tochelu matzot. Eat unleavened bread. We are also instructed regarding something to symbolize the blood that was used to identify our homes as Jewish homes. Thus, most use an animal bone as roah, as a symbol. But some of us use a red beet, which can certainly bleed, and can well serve such symbolization purpose. And we are instructed that this is to be a symbol, to spark children to ask questions. Yomru alechem b'nechem. And when your children ask you, Ma ha'avodah hazot lachem, what does this mean to you? Thus, that is to be the purpose of our symbols, to spark our children's inquisitiveness, to ask and to learn. As it is not what we normally do. Something is different here. This is not like all other nights. And thus, other traditions have been added throughout the years to spark further curiosity in questioning and thinking and answering as well. We are further instructed here. Remember this day. Zachor et hayom hazeh. 7 days, having become 8 in the diaspora, you shall eat unleavened bread. Shivat yamim tochal matzot. There shall be a festival to the Lord, Chag l'Adonai, and you shall explain to your son on that day, V'higadata levincha bayom hahu. You shall keep this institution. V'shamarta et hachukah hazot. At its set time forever and ever. Lemoada miyamim yamima. This is to be done each year in the spring, in the month of Aviv, what we now call Nisan. An important step in our liberation was that we develop our own calendar, our own way of keeping track of the years, months, and days, our own way of honoring the important days of our history, a plan to honor our own holidays and holy days. A slave's time belongs to someone else. Slaves are not able to be in control of their own time. But as a free people, we would be able to plan and use our own time accordingly. Our own calendar can enable us to mark what we are to remember and what we are to stand for. On our holiday of Rosh Hashanah, each Tishrei, for instance, at the end of each summer, beginning of each autumn, we celebrate the creation of the world and focus on building up to Yom Kippur, on making right that which we had done wrong. And in so celebrating God's wondrous, wonderful creation with which we are so blessed, we also are to focus on our responsibility, to do our part, and to take God's creation to the next step. But before we can celebrate creation, and before we can take responsibility for our part in creation, we need to be free. And thus, our calendar actually begins with the month of Pesach, with the time of our freedom, Zman Cherutenu, in the month of Nisan or Abib. In the spring, after the harsh winter rains, when plants and flowers are ready to emerge. Even in our American lives, we may recognize our secular calendar year beginning on January 1st, and we may celebrate our country's new year on July 4th, and we may celebrate our own personal years with our birthdays. As Jews, we recognize the creation of the world with Rosh Hashanah, and we celebrate our being a free people, the birth of our people as such, with the month of Pesach. Passover marks the beginning of our freedom, and as such, a new beginning of a new year. In this parsha of the Torah, we are told that HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chadashim. This month shall mark for you the beginning of the months. Rishon Hu Lachem L'Chadashei Hashanah. It shall be the first of the months of the year for you. And while Pesach is still a couple of months away, it is good for us to learn more of this in the Torah now. And of course, we will continue and learn further later. And such is good for us to go ponder this Shabbat bow. And before you go, with that for now, I will wish you L'Shabbat Shalom.